Hi everyone, I'm Tamara Banks. Welcome back. Mitch, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Tamara.
We have some terrific guests and you're going to let me introduce them.
Yes.
I'm so thrilled because they're friends of yours, but they're way back friends of mine. Coach Lonnie Porter and his daughter Stacy Porter-Bentley. Welcome to the show. So great to have you here.
Great.
Thank you for having us.
I want to talk about the Leadership Academy that you all are involved in and about the background. But first, Coach, tell us about how you came up with this idea of the Academy.
Well, this goes way back, but I came up with it because I felt like I was not doing enough in the community. I was doing some volunteer work. I was speaking at schools, at my leisure, so to speak. And the more I participated, the more I realized that I needed to get deeper involved. So I've always wanted to be like a headmaster. If I hadn't been a basketball coach, I would have been a headmaster. I always wanted to have my own school and to run that. So this was sort of a spinoff, on that.
And you have experienced teachers who work with you on
Yes.
this project.
Yes.
How many do you have?
Our total staff is about 23 people. Part of that, the majority of that they work for us in the summer. And I will defer to Stacy that she will go over the liaison person that works with us, the recruiter, all special people that work year round.
So Stacy, obviously, Coach Porter is your dad, but how did he convince you to work in this kind of a program?
All of my life, he's been talking about how to pay it forward. And while I was blessed to live a very comfortable life because of the hard work and sacrifice that he has made, he always instilled in me that community participation and that service learning and giving back to the community. And so when he came to me and said, I would like to start this program, but I really don't want it to have anything to do with academics. And I was a teacher at the time, and so he felt like we would be a natural fit and came to me and said, let's bring some kids over to the university campus and let's try this out and get it going. And I thought, great, I know this has been a dream of his for many, many years. And as his daughter, I was honored that he asked me to help support him in this endeavor.
So we'll get some more background on it and what it actually does. But Mitch, I'm curious to find out from you, how do organizations that work with kids who might be facing some challenges in their neighborhoods and their families, how does that impact your office and what you do as a DA?
Well, we're committed to prevention. We've talked about our diversion program. Anything in the community that reaches out and touches a kid, that gives them the kind of background, the kind of information. I go out to the school every summer. I get asked to come out, and if I haven't talked to the group before, I get to talk and interact with them and spend time. And we have a dear friend, Dennis Doherty, that introduced me to Lonnie and said, you have to get involved in this academy, and you have to be part of this. And so I've been lucky in that regard. But what this does, and if the younger the kids are, if you keep them engaged, the time in the summer is a time when kids can get in trouble, when their parents are working, that type of thing, and it keeps them out of our system. And the criminal justice system is a horrible place to get stuck. And if you get stuck there as a juvenile or as a young adult, we see individuals that never get out and their lives are just ruined. So this program takes kids in completely the opposite direction.
So Coach, you have an opportunity now to pay it forward and give forward, but that wasn't always your history. Tell us a little bit about your background. I understand you used to put cardboard into your shoes with holes in your shoes.
You've been talking to my daughter.
I mean, she's very proud of where you've come from, and you haven't forgotten where you've come from. Just a little bit about who you are as Lonnie Porter, the man, the young boy.
Before we go into that dimension, I just wanted to say that this program is all about academics. It's not about athletics. So I want to make that very clear. I think Stacy said earlier that it was academics. It's all about academics. Okay? A little bit about, you have to know, to appreciate and to know more about the PBLA, you have to learn and know where it all started. It all started when I was about 7, 8 years old. That's where it started. I come from very humble beginnings. And some of the people have heard the story because I've been in this business of coaching and et cetera for a long time. And humble beginnings simply now in those days meant poor. Okay, I would wear the same pair of pants to school for the entire week, and I would change shirts on Thursday, and but always hanging up my school clothes and to so that my school clothes would be fresh, and then have my play clothes on. But getting more to the point is the environment where I was raised. It was just a little bit different. It was very tough. I was raised on the streets in Indiana Avenue in Indianapolis, Indiana, and so those were the main streets. It was very, very tough. It's very tough. In the school, like you were saying, wearing cardboard. Tide was the was the cardboard box that I would put in the bottom of my shoes so that protect me from the snow. So all those types of things, and so you can only imagine. But a lot of things happened that impressed me, that made an impression on me. That's why you have to be very careful with young people today, because you don't know what you're saying to them might impress them for a lifetime. For example, I'd get sent to the office. Sometimes I was in trouble, Mitch, and sometimes I wasn't. But like I'm in the office one time, I never will forget it, and it's because I didn't have the money to go on a field trip. Did not have the money to go on a field trip. And if you didn't have the money to go on a field trip, you got sent to the office. And when you got sent to the office, everyone else went on the field trip, and half the time you would be in the principal's office, you would be asleep. You'd wake up and you're hoping that your classmate would come back, and all the things that's going through your head, and finally you would hear them, come back, and so you get excited.
Kind of might feel left out.
Yeah.
So
totally
how does
left
that
out.
experience, as a young person, help you connect with the young men and boys that you deal with in the Leadership Academy?
Well, what happened to me was like, when I grew up, I was in and out of trouble. But when I grew up, I said to myself, this would never happen to another kid. After I had the means and the resources and use my place in the community as a basketball coach, as a basketball player, and as a basketball coach, to make sure that this never happens as much as I possibly can, to another kid. The old saying that no kid left behind. I was left behind, and I know how it felt. It still hurts to this day, that happened. I never want to see that happen, to another kid.
Right. So Stacy, let's jump forward now into the academic piece of it. So it's not about sports, it's about academics.
Correct.
What kind of success rate do you have, and what are you teaching the kids? How do you get to them if they've experienced something that your dad has talked about?
Well, let's see, a threefold question. So let me try to take them one chunk at a time. First of all of our teachers are licensed teachers in the Denver metro area. Some of them are in Cherry Creek School District or Aurora, Douglas County. So it's really nice because we have kind of a collage, if you will, of teachers. And they come together with different ideas, and they're very progressive. Typically, they teach in their area of passion or their area of strength, which allows them to really think outside of the box, not your typical day of education like you would find in public school. We have a focus this year, for example, on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. We really want to make sure that our students are 21st century ready and prepared to compete globally with their peers and counterparts. We also do a financial literacy course. We talk with students about how to be financially responsible, save money, plan for the future, use debit cards. We even teach kids how to pull their credit scores. Many of our students, their parents may choose to use their Social Security number, for example, to obtain public service or cell phones, and then they get out of high school and find that they have poor credit because their Social Security cards numbers have been used. So we definitely have a life skills approach as well, and teach etiquette and communication. If you go to a banquet, how do you begin communication with people, 10 people you might not know who are sitting at your table? How do you brag about yourself, you know?
Right.
And how does a lady dress? Should a gentleman pull out her chair, open the door? These are those basic life skills that we all take for granted that a lot of our kids have never been taught.
And I know in your background as a, you working at a community center, and
Yes.
you, rather than just watching the kids run around, you actually created a curriculum for the young people.
Yes. When I was about 21 years old, I was working at a community center and asked to be the summer camp director. And it was a lot of play oriented, and I just felt like the kids needed more, and so I did implement some of the same curriculum we're using now way back then.
So Mitch, how does it help having these kids know their skills, not just academics, but life skills in the world that you live in?
You know, it's really important, and what it does is, you know, a big part of our community kind of loses out on the socialization of children. And, you know, so somebody behaves, they know how to behave in a stressful situation, and they don't act in an antisocial way, which then ends up getting them into trouble, ends up getting them arrested, ends up getting them into that type of situation. The reason I think this program is so important is you know, Lonnie's seen some of the most phenomenal basketball players. You know, we've had basketball players come out of Denver. He knows them, but that's such a limited number of people, and so many people in our community. It's education that gives them a way to move forward.
Right.
And that's why this program, being about academics, being about doing well, being a leader, when I'm there, it's amazing the manners, it's amazing the preparation. The kids have the questions, they know I'm coming, they write the questions out. They couldn't be nicer, they couldn't be more respectful.
Right.
When I know I got asked by a friend of mine, he's a single dad, his daughter. I know Mitch Morrissey, and the teacher that's been inviting me for years, she's kind of like, oh yeah, well, you know, and I know Lonnie, and you know, she called me up, and I came, and I've been going ever since.
Wow.
Because it's about giving these kids a chance.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
And a lot of times, that's all a kid needs.
Exactly. Let's talk about the other big name on the Porter-Billups Leadership Academy. Chauncey Billups is your partner in crime, if you will.
Right, I was going to say that earlier, but no, Chauncey, he's our guy. He's the man. He's Mr. Everything, and you know, in this time of age when a lot of athletes are getting adverse publicity, you know, then you have Chauncey Billups, who is the humanitarian deluxe. He's just a super person, and you're probably wondering how he got involved in this.
How did you twist his arm? Or
Well,
did you have to twist
I
it?
really didn't twist his arm. He, as a matter of fact, I heard a rumor in the community. As a matter of fact, one of my former assistant basketball coaches, named Simon Peter O'Hanlon, had told me that Chauncey wanted to talk to me about my academy, and so I said, okay, tell him to give me a call. And so, we got together, and I met him over Hiawatha Davis Recreation Center, and he was having a camp. And so it was just not the right time. And I was going up to Detroit when he was with the Pistons with his former college coach, Ricardo Patton, to visit up there to play in his golf tournament, celebrity golf tournament, which was a fundraiser. So went up there, met Chauncey, and he's so casual, so relaxed, and so down to earth. It's just unbelievable. And saw him. So we went into a room to talk before the tournament started, and we had just a little small talk. And I said, I hear you want to talk to me. And so he says in his voice that like nobody else could say, yeah, LP, I want to talk to you. Yeah, I need to talk to you. And I said, I hear that you are interested in joining forces with me in the academy. In what capacity? And he said, I want to be your partner, And my heart just like, oh man, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
I said, be my partner. And I said, that's so cool. I didn't tell him that.
Yeah.
I said, that's so cool. And so I said, why? And he said, but because from afar I've been watching you and Stacy, do this thing with growing with kids, making them grow and mature and sending them off to college. I want to be a part of that, And so I said, okay. I said, here's the deal. I said, it has to be a commitment for life, not just of your money, but of your time, which is more important. You have to commit to this for life, because when I'm gone, I want you and Stacy to take care of this and to run it. And he said, I'm in.
Wow.
And he has been the best.
Yeah.
Best. He's down in Las Vegas working out, getting ready to go back to the Pistons. And he called me, and he was so pumped. He had a little small check, he said, for me that was given by a gentleman named Mr. Manny Jackson, who was an icon back east, and he's the owner of the Globetrotters. But when he said the amount of the check, it wasn't the amount. It was, this is for the Porter-Billups, coach, And so I was just real excited about that. He's done a number of things, it's too many things to count.
Right.
But Stacy,
he flew some kids to
Detroit.
Okay.
So we've done
to see the game?
We've done a couple of trips with the students. The first was when Chauncey was initially with the Pistons. He said, I really want to bring some kids up. Can you come? And, it would just be a great opportunity. So we flew to Detroit, put the kids up in this beautiful hotel. He had his personal chef cook for us.
Oh, wow.
We were really spoiled and just given the royal treatment. Went, of course, to a basketball game, spent the weekend with him and his family in his hometown, and in his hometown of Detroit at the time. And, of course, in Detroit, Chauncey's the equivalent of a John Elway. I mean, he can't go anywhere without being recognized and mobbed. So that was just amazing to see. We've also taken the students to NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and that was a gift from Southwest Airlines. And my mother, who's a former employee of NASA, and we went to the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, took 40 students, and news team for that, and lots of pictures, and Chauncey, of course, went with us, and we just spent a day and flew home that night, giving the kids that opportunity to get outside of Denver, and many of them had never seen the beach or the ocean, so it was really powerful.
And I don't think it's I think it's important to say that a lot of these kids come from struggling neighborhoods and challenging schools and families that are having some issues. So these are kids that otherwise wouldn't have these opportunities by any means, right?
Absolutely. The majority of our students are what we consider at risk, and that term has been used very loosely and means several different things. They might be high achieving academically and have that leadership potential, but financially they're lower income, they're receiving free and reduced lunch. Most of them would be first time, some of them high school graduates, and definitely 72%, I believe, of the students would be first time college attendees as well in their families.
Wow. So how are you using social media to sort of track your successes?
Well, we finally got a Facebook page up. It's been about a year and a half.
Are you on Facebook, Coach?
No, not yet.
And we've been able to reach out to our students who have graduated from high school and left the program and gone on to colleges and universities outside of Regis. One of the things that I want to make sure we make mention of is that upon completion of the Porter-Billups Leadership Academy, students enter in 4th grade. They're with us all the way through high school. So it's an every summer commitment for a minimum of 7 to 8 years of their school careers. If they meet Regis's entrance requirements and they're high achieving, they do well on their ACT, SAT, they receive a scholarship to come to the university. And so that's our ultimate goal, is A, to make sure they're graduating from high school and they're prepared, and then B, making sure that they're college ready. And if they choose not to come to Regis, that's okay. We just want them to go to college somewhere. But if they do select Regis, there's a scholarship waiting for them.
And it sounds like it's a comprehensive, multi-pronged approach. You know, a lot of organizations will focus on getting kids through high school, which is a great achievement. Then another set of organizations focus on getting kids into and through college. But you're taking them from from at least 1st grade
Right.
all the way through an
High
undergrad.
school. Yes,
High
and
school.
then graduate,
and then
graduate
graduate,
college.
and then get into
correct.
college. Why is that important, and not just to sort of leave it at, high school?
Well, I don't think that we can leave it at high school. I think we have to have more ownership, and our success rate is very high. And the reason for that is because there is ownership, and that we work with these kids, for, let's say, 14 years, through the whole process. And then after they graduate from college, we are still connected with them. And we have a saying that we are at the hip for life. It just does not stop when you graduate from high school, when you graduate from college. One of our students, Alma Vasquez, who was our first graduate, she is a graduate from the Porter-Billups Leadership Academy, has her master's, graduated from Regis University, has a master's, a CPA, and she's just doing awesome things.
Wow.
And she's giving back. At our dinner last year, she got up and she gave $1,000, and that brought me to my knees, to see that happen. That's the type of ownership that we have and commitment that we have to follow this thing all the way through. Not just a one-time gift, but to pay for their college education for 4 years.
Well, as you mentioned, then the kids themselves they're in a position to give back as well, and that's
Correct.
important to them.
Pay it forward.
Pay it forward.
Right.
Exactly.
But Tamara, let me say one thing. Anybody that's watching this that wants to contribute to this academy, you tell them to contact my office or to go on, you have a website, you go on the website. They're not going to say that, but I've seen the work and the impact that they have on children, on young adults, on adults. And anybody that's interested in contributing to this important work, they can be part of it financially or however they want to. But, they're not going to ask. But I can ask as the district attorney, and I think it's important that we support this academy. And, a check would be real nice. I'm sure it would be helpful.
Yeah.
Thanks,
and
Mitch.
we have to put our money where our mouth is, right?
Yes.
I have understood that, Stacy, you are a warm demander.
Yes.
Is that how you motivate the kids? And what exactly does that mean? You don't typically hear those two words
Yes,
in the
so
same
the term,
sentence.
The term warm demander actually really focuses on particularly African American women and mothers. It comes from a historical background where warm demanders as Black women often had to be very tough. They had to serve 2 roles in their home very often. And so as a warm demander in education, I am going to nurture and love kids, but I set very high expectations. I have very high demands. You're not going to get away with anything.
Right.
I'm going to hold you to a level of very, very high accountability. And so that's really what
That's where that
a
comes
warm
from.
demander is.
Well,
So
and kids need that structure,
Yes.
and they love the warmth, and I know if they don't appreciate the academics right now, they will in the future. Keep up the great work. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. That's all the time we have for this edition of Dialogue Denver DA. I'm Tamara Banks. We'll see you next time.
Denver 8 TV, your city, your source.